Hi, everyone, and welcome back to AHM's Here For You podcast. Before we get started today, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. For this episode, I do want to just acknowledge Amplify. We are using some funding from our state opioid response grant to be able to film this episode today. And then I also want to thank Cherish the Children and the Kyle Constantine Memorial Fund. They are funding our beautiful set here. And so I just want to thank them because without the set, we wouldn't look as fabulous as we do. So we just thank them for that support. I'm really excited for today's episode. We have a very special member of the AHM team here. Her name is Shauna Ferris. She is one of our counselors. And so today we are going to focus on mental health, specifically with our littles,
Yes.
our young residents. So welcome, Shauna.
Thank you.
So
Thank
nice
you
to
for
have
having me.
you here today. So Shauna, really quickly, why don't you just tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about your role at AHM. I know that you're in two of our schools, but just kind of give us an idea of what your day-to-day is looking like.
Okay.
I know you're very busy.
Thank you for having me. So I'm in Gilead Hill Elementary School in Hebron and Andover Elementary School. And so I see kids K to 6 and some preschoolers here and there. And it's so much fun. So my day-to-day is different every day. And I end up kind of doing whatever needs to be done in between my sessions. I have individual sessions. I do lots of lunch bunches. Kids love lunch bunches. Good for practicing social skills. And I attend meetings, consult with teachers, help
So
kids.
you're busy.
Yeah, help
You're
kids
busy.
who are having big feelings.
Our
All the things.
AHM staff that are based in our schools, I give you all so much credit because you are there for our students in ways that are just so admirable and inspiring. And you show up. You all show up every day, and you're there for the good, the bad, the crazy. And so thank you. Thank you for everything you do because you are so making a difference in the community. So today we're going to focus on our younger students, specifically with mental health, because I think sometimes when we think youth mental health, we think maybe middle school or high school, maybe even college and adults. But I think it's really important to remember that we've got our littles and their mental health is just as important. And that as they grow and develop, and maybe meet some transition times or challenges in their lives, we want them to be able to have the tools to cope and know who to talk to. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. So let's get started. What are some of the typical emotional and behavioral patterns for kids of this age? And what might be maybe some early warning signs that maybe something deeper is going on?
I'm glad that you asked that because a lot of what we do at the elementary level, especially, is working with the parents and kind of coaching them through it. Because if you're not in it every single day, these normal things can feel like really big things and it can feel kind of scary. And we always get the question like, is this normal? Should my kid be doing this? So a lot of what you're going to see in, let's start with like K to 2, K to 3, it is totally normal for them to be having big feelings like out loud, the screaming, the crying, stomping their feet, especially if they feel safe with you. Like if you're the parent, you know, a lot of parents say they're crazy at home. How are they at school? And they're like little angels at school. And that's a sign that they feel safe with you. So you'll see a lot of that. They are very concrete thinkers from like K to 4th or 5th grade. So they're going to be more egocentric and focused on themselves. So they might have low impulse control. They might have trouble seeing another person's perspective. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to be good friends. It just means that they need some coaching. And that's a normal part of the process too.
So is some of what you do at the school level, like you said, some of that coaching of how to maybe have a wider range of consciousness of other people?
Yes, absolutely. And that's where those lunch bunches come in. There's a constant like mentioning of their facial expressions or the way they said something, and let's ask a return question. Even with the 5th and 6th graders, you can do a little bit of that.
So I think that's what I love so much about the work that you do and some of our other AHM staff at the elementary level is that you're able to teach these skills to students in real time, real life situations. It's one thing to talk about, okay, when you're in this situation, if somebody says this, you should say this. But you're actually able to do that right in a situation, which I think is so valuable to our students.
Thank you.
All right, so are there specific changes that should raise concerns for parents? Maybe sleep, appetite, behaviors, things like that, that might mean like, okay, we've got to maybe get a little bit of extra coaching or help here.
So the biggest thing is, although it can be alarming to see a tantrum or a regression, it is normal to an extent, but what you want to look out for is if it's persistent, like if it's over not just a few days, but a week, 2 weeks, the intensity of it. If you see your kids starting to withdraw more, or if they're starting to have more explosions and get physical when they weren't, that's a sign too. And if it's interfering with school, home, their friendships, any of that is a big sign that you might need a little boost.
So the regular activities.
Yeah.
All right. So if I'm a parent that, I have a young child that, like you said, is exhibiting some behaviors, they've gone for a period of time, and maybe now they are a little bit more withdrawn, or maybe they don't want to go to school, or maybe at school now they're having some issues. What would you say should be my next step as a parent?
Well, we're lucky that we have this role, because a lot of what we can do is see them for a few weeks and check in with them. But I would give you resources as well and kind of coach you with how to talk to your child. And at AHM also, when we work in the schools, we're lucky that we have access to so many community resources, so we can connect families to resources, help them find counseling quicker, because that is such a process usually.
It is, yeah.
And just kind of normalizing the whole experience too.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think a lot of times parents sometimes might feel a little bit hesitant to reach out to the school, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, we talk about the stigma of mental health all of the time, but I think for parents to know that this isn't abnormal, you are not alone, and that our AHM staff at the schools, as well as the full support team at the school level, as well as our counselors at AHM, we really are here for you and your youth. It might just be for a couple of weeks, a few sessions. It might be longer, but regardless, like that's our job, and we take that so close to the heart and want to be there.
Yeah, and you mentioned the stigma too. I mean, that's something that I think is lifting, but there are families who still struggle with that. And I think the more that we communicate, and people who experience therapy can communicate, that sometimes you just need a little extra support, is so helpful.
Absolutely. So I do have a question for you. I sometimes hear that for young children to thrive, that structure and routine is really important. So what is your stance on that?
I so agree. I have 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and when we are out of our routine, you can feel it, every little part of them. Kids at this age, at the elementary age specifically, but even older kids do too, need that routine to feel safe. Like instinctively, it makes them feel good because they know what to predict, and they know that they are safe and being taken care of. And there is something to be said for a lack of routine at times, because it can build resilience. Like we're going to sleep somewhere new or try new food, but being able to predict what to expect. So a lot of what I do with parents of young kids is I'll give them a morning checklist. And so the kids know I brush my teeth in the morning, and I have breakfast, and I change my clothes, and they start to get into managing that on their own too. And I don't want to alarm parents either, because that's when you're going to see some outbursts potentially, is when there has been a lack of routine. At the schools, that's when we're all seeing it. Right after April break, any break, the kids come back.
A little bit of change in their schedule. That makes sense. And I think, again, schools are pretty structured. Right? I feel like whatever grade your child is in, there's a routine to the day.
Absolutely.
And they really kind of get into that groove. So to be able to carry a predictable routine over at home, it is, like you said, very safe. Yeah, because sometimes when things come at you unexpectedly, that is really hard for a child. So to be able to have a good balance, right?
Yeah.
Of spontaneity, but still that structure, I think is really, really a good idea.
Like having a rough plan in the afternoons, for example. There's a lot of kids who may need a little bit of flexibility. So you have a rough sketch of we're going to have a snack and then you'll do homework for 20 minutes and then you play outside. But it might happen in a different order every day. So you don't need to stress about it not being just so.
Right.
But just that general expectation for kids makes them feel so calm inside.
Yeah.
Even if they look annoyed or roll their eyes.
Yeah. How do you feel about, I know for some young children, having almost like a visual of what the time frame or structure. Do you find that helpful? I know in the lower grades, preschool, kindergarten, they will have that visual time schedule of the day. How do you feel about having that at home?
I love that. I wish I had it at home because I need that too. But kids love that. And I find that I did that for my son in particular because the mornings are pretty ruthless for us. He just wants to lay in bed. So if he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing, he can just, okay, and then we have that.
Get through it. Yeah.
We can't get out the door until we've done all these things.
And there's so many cool ways of presenting a schedule at home now. I've seen everything from like a wipe-off board, but then they have like high-tech digital schedules now where the kids can go and click when they've accomplished a task like that. I never had that, but that was super cool. I also find that, I don't know if you're familiar with like the visual clocks. So I think with young kids, we find, obviously, if you say, all right, in 10 minutes, we're gonna have dinner, the concept of time is something that they can't necessarily grasp at a young age. So you can purchase clocks, I think, on Amazon where it will count down, but it's like the red piece of the pie gets smaller. And I think, again, just giving our kids as many tools as possible to understand a structure.
Absolutely. Even sometimes coaching, you can say, you're going to probably feel upset when the timer's up. So what can we do to get through that feeling? Just to help them anticipate that.
So that's a good segue into big feelings.
Yes.
And so, Shauna, can you tell us how can we help our children identify how they're feeling? And like you just said, coaching them to express with words how they're feeling. Because I think that's hard. That's hard for a lot of our littles right now.
It is. We have to remember that young kids, even 5th grade, 4th grade, they speak through, different venues, play, art, and utilizing that creativity and that imagination to help them process something that you want them to understand or help them tell you something. So if they're upset at home and they won't tell you and they're just crying, you can give them a couple stuffies and say, show me what happened, or give them paper and pen and show me what happened. And I've gotten so much just from having a kid draw the picture, even though I don't know necessarily exactly what's happening in the picture. And then I let them interpret it out loud. And I think that helps them understand it a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a great thought, because I think, there are times I can recall when my kids were little that they get so upset and they're trying to explain the situation and maybe don't have the words, and me not understanding what they're trying to get across just makes them more upset, and you end up in this very tense situation. It's hard.
And then you feel yourself escalating. So that's co-regulation too. Co-regulation is so important. Like sometimes when my kids were younger, especially, you just audibly take a very dramatic, big, deep breath in. You're like, I'm feeling stressed. And so they can take the little hint that you are regulating yourself even though you're not comfortable.
I love that. That's smart, Shauna, because I can remember in the heat of when my kids would be very upset and frustrated about something, you can feel in your own parent being like your blood pressure rising. And that's really smart to just step away and say, I'm going to take a breath right now. In hopes that your child will do the same. That's really smart. Oh, I wish I knew that about 15 years ago.
I know, me too. So I learned that from the Good Inside. We had done a parent workshop on that, and she was genius. We'll talk about that another time. But
that's great.
That was incredible. But there are other things that you can do.
All right. Give us more tips.
We talked about visuals. I love making visuals for families, but there's endless stuff out there. visuals with facial expressions. Kids love looking at those pictures and saying, oh, that's me. And then you get to say, oh, you feel that way when this happens, and connecting those little dots for them. There's another way to, when you feel that way, say it's like anger. Your fists might get tight, or your heart might beat really fast. And then you can talk through matching those sensations to the emotion. And those little nuggets will, over time, start to help them recognize it in themselves so that they can intervene before it goes too far, when they are feeling mad or,
That's great.
worried.
Awesome. What else you got?
And then what else? Keep it low pressure. I loved this one. I do this with my 9-year-old because she thinks she's like 15. So we go on walks, and that's when we get the best talks. And I'm sure you had this too.
Yes. And one of our previous episodes, we talked about with maybe middle school, high school students, when you need to talk to them, get them in the car, go for a ride. They don't have to talk to you with eye contact, and things just like spill. And that's like a really good tactic. So you're kind of saying the same thing.
Yes.
Take a walk, get out into nature, no eye contact, and just let it spill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like with my little ones, never fails to bust out Play-Doh or kinetic sand, and then we're just building, and then they just kind of start spilling as they're building, because it's all the pressure is taken off.
Yeah.
So,
and I love that. I know at your schools and your offices, and as well as AHM, our counselors have really invested a lot of time and thought on how their offices are set up, right? And so we've got in all of our offices different kind of tools in our toolbox that we can pull out to help children and families have those conversations. Like you said, the kinetic sand, doll houses, lots of art materials. And so we're just ready to go for whatever the day, the session might look like, but giving youth the opportunity to express in a way that's comfortable. We also, as you know, at AHM, we have our nature trail. And so if we have youth that come for counseling and don't feel maybe as comfortable in the office setting, we can take them out to the trail, and we have different seating areas. And that has just been such an amazing opportunity for not only our counselors to use as a tool, but also, our clients coming in. So
I bet
getting out into nature can help as well.
Especially this generation, I feel like they're so used to being in front of the screen and having that instant gratification. Like being out in nature just forces you to slow down.
So that's interesting. Do you see an impact of screen time on the younger students? Are you seeing that with the kids that you're interacting with?
Absolutely. Yeah. I see it in my own kids when there's been more screen time, particularly my son, he's younger. There's just, it's harder to cope, and they get overstimulated. There's just so much information coming at them, and their brains don't really know how to process it at that speed.
Right.
So,
I think in the future we'll probably dedicate a couple episodes just to social media and screen time, because it is such a big topic right now, and we could talk for hours on social media, screen time, AI, all of those things. So stay tuned, because that will be coming. That will be coming for sure. So, all right. So how we talked about a little bit, but maybe you can get into maybe some more of the details. Is how can parents collaborate with the school if they're concerned about their child, and who would a parent reach out to kind of start that process?
Anybody they're comfortable with, honestly. I think, because sometimes that's the first step with the parents. They might say that they don't know who to talk to, so they just don't. And it can be intimidating. And like we talked about with the stigma, it's hard to say, I think my child is struggling. But it's not a reflection on you if your child is struggling. That just being a human is hard, and sometimes they need somebody who's not you to talk to. Right. So I would have parents just reach out to whoever they're comfortable with, saying, my child needs some support, and what are the next steps? And someone like, we have a dean of students in Hebron, they might say, oh, I have someone who I can connect them to, like me or one of the school psychologists, to check in on them. Depending on the severity of the need, we would make a plan. And then if we feel like they would be better suited for outside, we can connect them to resources and, of course, send them right to AHM.
And I think it's good to know, too, that the support that you provide at the school level, it's not like one and done. Like you are there for the long haul, for the process, and you're always going to continue to check in with that student and that family. And I think that's really important as we continue to raise our kids, right? And especially the community that we're a part of, just constantly having that support and knowing that, especially at AHM, like we're here for the long haul. You know, we do support our youth through age 26. And so, you know, we know that through all different ages and stages and transitions, it can be hard. And it's okay to reach out when things get hard. We really want people to understand that.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we did bring along with us today that I wanted to share is this amazing book that we have been using at AHM for quite some time now. I think even before COVID, we were using it. And it is a wonderful tool, I feel, for especially the younger students. Some schools have us go in and actually facilitate this curriculum at certain grades, maybe first or third grade. We're giving these out for free all the time. All of our community events, we tend to give them out to. We have them at the office. We have them in English and Spanish. And so do you want to go through a little bit about what this book is all about? It's amazing. It's super, super adorable. So tell us all about it.
So it has a dog, which immediately I'm drawn to. But in our Hebron schools especially, actually Andover too, we have therapy dogs, and that animals are so beneficial for kids who need support, and that is another whole episode we could have. This book in particular was written about an actual therapy dog, and it's very cute because he kind of walks you through from the kids how to recognize when they're struggling and who they can talk to. And it has this page I actually just did with a couple of my kindergartners today, recognizing who is a trusted adult.
So important. So important to have those conversations at a young age. Who are your trusted adults at school, at home? So I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that part of the book. For sure.
And it kind of like leads to some safety conversations too about who is a trusted adult and who may not be, so that it just lends itself to so many different conversations. And then one that I really liked and I wanted to make sure to mention is when I feel sad, mad, or worried. It uses very simple language so that the kids can identify. And then physical feelings, because I tell my kids, a lot of them, that your body will tell you something's wrong before your mind does. So being able to recognize that something is off can be your
where
first
that
hint.
feeling is coming from.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think one of the last few pages of the book, there's my mental health plan. And I really like that because whether it's done in a school setting or done at a home setting, you can kind of go through this with your child and answer these questions. And so it talks about, okay, when I am feeling mad, sad, or worried, what can I do? Maybe that's going outside. So you kind of go through a checklist of those things. And then that way, when you're in that moment, you know, with your child, say, hey, let's go over to your mental health plan and let's pick something that you've checked off that's going to make you feel better right now. And so I love that. Again, just tools we're giving our families to have those conversations. So when you are in a situation, you can kind of go back to this. And I think with, you know, that mental health plan that the kids feel that they have some control over creating, you can always go back and change it if they pick up a new skill or something. But again, I like how we're connecting with in ourselves, choosing things that make us feel good, that we can go to, and maybe we are feeling stressed or mad or angry. And then also identifying, like you said, the people that we can go to when we're feeling sad, mad, or worried. Because the last thing we want is for our youth to feel like they don't know what to do and they don't know who to turn to. And that I think is important for whatever age we're talking about, even through adulthood when we're talking about mental health, suicide prevention. Like, who are those people you can go to open up to? So important. So
Absolutely. And like you said too, finding out what works for you, because there are so many kids that say, I tried deep breaths, it doesn't work. And sometimes it doesn't.
Doesn't work for everybody.
you know?
Yeah. Yep.
There's so
yeah,
many
I agree. I have two children as well, and I feel like I have one of my children who, when they were sad, mad, or worried, were more of an active outside, needed to run and be super, super physical, where my other child is more intuitive and liked to journal and have quiet space. And like that was her way of dealing. And so two very different approaches in our house, but very important that we as parents understood that. So when they were faced with a challenge, we said, okay, it sounds like to me you need to run around the house. You know? Or it sounds like to me, maybe getting your journal out right now, finding a cozy spot in your room, that's what's going to help you the most right now. And then we can come back and maybe talk. And
exactly.
it is. It's knowing. And I feel even as you know, an adult, knowing and sticking to what works for me. And sometimes that changes, you know. So very good. I also love this book because the characters of this book, Gizmo and friends that are listed in the back of the book, are local to Connecticut and very local to Hebron. So there are many times where AHM will offer events where we're giving out the Gizmo books, and we'll actually have Gizmo and friends real life right there for the kids to get pictures with. And again, it is just amazing. It's amazing that we have this guide that was created here in the state of Connecticut, and through the United Way in 211, we are able to continue to get these books to give to the community. So kudos to those in Connecticut working with youth mental health, because we are very, very fortunate to have that as a resource. So, all right, Shauna, well, as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to ask you, is there anything else that you feel is important for families to know as they're, you know, raising their young children and guiding them through, you know, challenges that come up? What else? Is there anything else you feel parents need to know?
To remember that you are not alone, and that childhood is full of seasons, right? And it sounds so cheesy, but it is.
It is. It really
is. You know, it's going to be hard, but then it'll be easy again. And there's a constant shift. But that, especially these days, there are so many tools out there, not just physical tools like the visual timer, but, you know, mindfulness tools that you can use at home to guide your kids through difficulties. Like the, you know, roller coaster breath and all that.
Yeah, there is so many. Yeah,
there's lots of little tricks, but just remembering that you do have a community, and that there is someone out there who can help you for exactly what you're struggling with.
Yeah, and to not feel intimidated by that either. And that, you know, especially at the school level and AHM, like we've said, we've got, you know, team of experts that are really, really excited to work with families. And that's truly their heart's passion, is working with youth and helping families to create communication, lines of communication to have, you know, just an easier go out of it. You know, it's tough. We're all doing our best, but we definitely want to help each other. So great. Well, thank you so much. And again, thank you for all the work that you do. And like I said, I am just so honored to work with our AHM school staff, because, you know, your days are long, but you go in with such joy and passion and enthusiasm and an empathy for our students that is just so heartwarming. And I want our viewers and our listeners to know that your children are really being cared for and loved, you know, through the AHM staff at the schools, as well as, you know, at our office.
Thank you for
what you do.
I appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you next time.